Namaste yogis, and welcome back. The 6 keys to spiritual success then, and they are enthusiasm, perseverance, discernment, courage, unshakable faith, and inspiring company. And now it's important to remind ourselves of the 4 principles of living yoga so we don't hurt ourselves and we stay self-responsible as we're doing our sadhana. Number 1, sukha, go easy, don't push with ego. 2, spanda, the pulse. You're going to expand and contract the body, which will then lead to 3, lila. You'll be able to play your edges. You'll be able to nudge against the painful boundaries in your body. Before 4, purna, bringing it to completion or perfection for you. Now it's time for us to move on to our stage 4 of double breathing. So you can stay seated or you can bring yourself down onto the floor lying on your back. Stage 4 requires us to do 30 breaths, 10 in the belly, 10 belly chest, 10 in the chest. So let's start with 10 in the belly, away we go. 2 more. Last one. Lower the chin, belly, chest, 10 breaths. Two more. Last one. Before we move into chest breathing. 10 breaths. Last 2. Final one. And release. Now draw a Ujjayi breath up. And holding at the top for a few seconds. Before releasing with a slow and conscious ah breath. Releasing, sending a wave of inner softening through the body. Return the head to neutral. Perform pratyahara, so turn your outwardly focused senses inside the body into this inner 6th feeling sense that we call dynamic stillness. So feeling, not thinking. Good work, yogis. It's time for our second round. So, 30 breaths, second round, 10 in the belly to begin. Away we go. 2 more. Last one. And drop the chin. Belly, chest. 10 breaths. Two more breaths. Last one. Change, chest, 10 breaths. Two more. Last one. And release. Now, take a Ujjayi breath up by constricting the throat. Lift your head as you do that. Holding at the top for a few seconds. Before releasing with a slow, conscious R breath, sending a wave of inner softening rippling through your beingness. Head all the way down, and then when you're done, return the head to neutral, perform Pratyahara, so turn your senses inwards, and feel. Good work, yogis. Time for our third and final round. 30 breaths, starting with 10 in the belly. Away we go. Last one. Drop the chin, belly, chest with the head movements. Two more. Last one. Change, chest. Two more. Last one. And release. Fully exhale. Then lift a Ujjayi breath up as your head lifts. Holding at the top for a few seconds. and releasing with a slow, conscious R breath. Bringing the head all the way down, then returning the head to neutral, performing Pratyahara, so turning your senses inside your body and feeling. Excellent work, yogis. You are now primed, purified, energized, relaxed, and ready for your asana practice. So you can bring yourself up onto your feet to the head of your mat, and we can begin. So bring yourself into mountain pose, bring your feet together, draw energy into the legs, lengthen the spine, roll the shoulders down the back of the body, send your hands out wide and sink some length and some stretch into your fingertips. Now take a Ujjayi inhale, breathing life into yourself, and then take a Ujjayi exhale, breathing yourself out into life. And when you hear the wood block, that will be your cue to inhale into flying mountain. Away we go. Arms raise, interlace the fingers on the inhale. Now connect with your pulse action on the exhale. So the pulse action works on the inhale to lengthen the body and increase the intensity of the stretch. And then using the exhale to soften the body and decrease the intensity of the stretch. There's 4 pulses here. Inhaling, exhaling, lengthening the body on the inhale, exhaling. Taking a final pulse now into flying mountain, looking up at the hands, and then exhaling into standing forward bend. And then find the pulse action for standing forward bend. Inhaling to bend the knees, hinge the hips, lengthen the spine and look forwards. And then exhaling to dive over the thighs into the bow. Inhaling to bend the knees, lengthen the spine, look forwards. Exhaling to bow. And then now that we've got that pulse action down pat, we can begin playing with the pain. Third principle of living yoga, Leela, play, pushing into the hamstrings just a little bit, leaning into the edge of discomfort. Exhaling now. Inhaling to look forwards. Playing the edge, teasing the tension out of your hamstrings. 2 more pulses now to bring this pose to completion, perfection. Final bow now, before coming down into toe balance on the inhale, so squatting down, and on the exhale, bringing your hands into Anjali Mudra if you can happily handle it. Now connect to the pulse, using the inhale to squeeze the thighs and lift through the spine, and then using the exhale to soften the inner body as you ground through the balls of the feet. Final inhale in toe balance, and then ready to transition all the way back to mountain, exhaling into standing forward bend. And inhaling into flying mountain, keep the back nice and straight. And exhaling to return to mountain pose to complete the first round of the Tada Kriya. And now it's time for Surya Namaskar. Arms raise on the inhale into flying mountain, before swan diving down on the exhale into standing forward bend. Then the right leg's going to go back into a lunge on the inhale, hips towards the floor, look up. Then on the exhale, the left leg's going to come back into downward dog. Then we're going to come forward on the inhale into plank. And the exhale is going to take us down to 8-point pose, knees, chest, chin and toes touching the floor. Then on the inhale, it's slithering forward to cobra, looking up, opening the chest. And then on the exhale, back through downward dog, hips up to the sky. And on the inhale, the right leg's going to come forward into the lunge, looking up. Then on the exhale, the left leg's going to come back into standing forward bend. Then on the inhale, we're going to return to flying mountain, spine straight, arms raised, look up. Then on the exhale, back to mountain. That's the right hand side of Surya complete. Now for the left. Inhale, flying mountain. Exhale, swan diving down, spine stays straight, bend the legs if you need to. This time it's the left leg going back on the inhale, hips towards the floor, look up. And on the exhale, it's downward dog, right leg steps back, hips up to the sky, melting between the shoulder blades. Then we're coming into plank on the inhale. Then on the exhale, 8-point pose, knees, chest, chin to the floor. And on the inhale, it's cobra, slithering forwards, lifting up, shooting some stretch out of the back of the toes. Then it's downward dog, hips to the sky. It's the left foot forward on the inhale, looking forward. And on the exhale, the right leg's going to join the left leg in standing forward bend. The inhale is going to return us to flying mountain, spine straight, look up. And then on the exhale, it's back to mountain. Surya Namaskar complete. You can take a breath here to rejuvenate and relax before we head into the moon flow. So inhaling, rotate the hands onto your hips. And then exhaling to step the feet a hip width apart. And on the inhale, we're going to raise the left arm. And then we're going to exhale into half moon side stretch. We're going to find our pulse here. So the inhale brings us back up to center. And the exhale takes us just a little bit deeper. We find our ease, we pulse, and then we play our edge. So perhaps pushing it a little bit further on this one. And then bring it to Purna completion on this side. And then inhaling to windmill the arms. Left hand to left hip, right arm above the right ear. And then on the exhale, half moon side stretch. And find your pulse. And once you've found your pulse, you can play your edge. And then on this final exhale, you can bring this pose to completion, to Purna. Before coming back up on the inhale, and then bringing the right hand and the left hand in to support the lower back. For inhaling to lift the chest and open the heart, and then exhaling into half moon back bend. Then on the inhale, bringing yourself back to center and find your pulse. One more exhale to back bend to bring it to Purna for you. And then on the inhale, bringing the hands to the hips. On the exhale, swan diving down with your hands on your hips into forward bend with toe balance, so gripping your big toe. Then you find your pulse. Inhale, bend the legs, straighten the spine, look forwards. Exhale to bow into the hamstrings. And you can continue your pulse. One more pulse here. Final exhale before we come up into our second variation with the interlaced fingers behind the back. So coming up on the inhale into a ski jump almost. Then on the exhale, bowing forwards, straightening the legs, bring the hands over the head. And now you find your pulse. Now this is bound to create a little bit of burn in the legs, and this is totally okay. This is us playing our edge, breathing through it. Sure to make us resilient and flexible. Final inhale here. Final exhale, bringing it to completion or perfection. Before on the inhale, we're bringing our arms all the way up into Flying Mountain, looking up. And then on the exhale, back to mountain. And now we'll head into the warrior flow. So on the inhale, you're going to turn side on to the mat in mountain pose. On the exhale, you're going to drop springboards into the legs. Then on your inhale, you're going to step your feet into a wide stance. And then on your exhale, you're going to turn your feet to the right and put your left hand on your left hip. Then on the inhale, make a reach forward as if you're trying to grab something on the windowsill. On our exhale, we're going to bring the hand down towards the shin, or higher if you need to. Remember, land softly. 3 building pulses now. So on the inhale, lifting some stretch into the legs. And on the exhale, pushing all of that stretch back into the floor to form a nice foundation. The next pulse, the next building breath on the inhale, opening the chest and looking up to the sky as we push on the exhale back into the floor, grounding down to form that solid foundation. Final building breath on the inhale, we open the chest and the arm reaches up to the sky, looking up at the thumb. And then there's 3 pulses here. On the exhale, we come off the stretch just slightly, waving that hand like an antenna. And on the inhale, we're leaning back into an imaginary wall behind us. And now you find your pulse with it. Inhale to lean into that imaginary wall behind you. Exhale to soften off the stretch just a little bit. With our final exhale, you're going to freeze and push everything into the floor before on the inhale, sweeping that left arm across the body up into center. Exhale, turns the feet to the left. inhale makes that reach forward just for the windowsill, something just out of reach. And then the exhale brings us into that base position for extended triangle. 3 building pulses on the inhale, lifting some stretch up into the legs. And then on the exhale, pushing that force back into the floor to create that solid foundation. Then on the next inhale, we're opening the chest, looking up. And then on our exhale, pushing some stretch back into the floor again. Then we have our final building breath on the inhale to lift the arm up to the sky, looking up to the thumb. And then on the exhale, we're just softening off that stretch just a little bit. And we have 3 pulses now. On the inhale, we're going to be leaning back into that imaginary wall behind us. And on the exhale, just softening slightly, pulsing. Inhale leans us back, opens the chest. The exhale allows us to just soften. And then we have our final pulse here. Before on the exhale, we freeze. We push all of our force into the floor. And then on the inhale, we'll be sweeping that arm across the front of the body. Bend the knee if you have to. Square the feet. And then exhale to springboard the legs and bring the hands into your lower back. Inhale to lift some stretch up into the chest and offer a back bend. Exhale into bowing triangle. Hands on the floor, 6 pulses here. On the inhale, you're going to hinge the hips, lengthen the spine, look forwards. And on the exhale, you're going to bow, bringing the crown of your head towards the floor. And pulse. Inhale to hinge the hips, lengthen the spine, look forwards. And exhale to bow towards the floor, lengthening into the hamstrings. Find your pulse. And then once you've found your pulse and you're confident with it, you can play your edge. You can lean into the tension in the hamstrings, using your Ujjayi breath to nudge into it. Final inhale now. And then final exhale to bring this to Purna completion for you. Before crossing your hands above your head, on the inhale, lifting up to center, turning the feet to the right. On the exhale, dropping into our lunge, our warrior 2. 2 pulses here. On the inhale, we come off the intensity of the stretch, lifting the spine up, releasing the legs a little. On the exhale, we're dropping deeper into that lunge, making sure that that front knee goes over the toes. And then we pulse. On the inhale, lifting up. On the exhale, going deeper, bringing it to Purna. Perfection for you. Inhaling to transition, so bring the arms in front of the body, cross them above your head. We're going into the other side of Warrior 2. So exhale to turn the feet and drop in to that lunge. And then we pulse. On the inhale, we're coming off of the stretch just slightly so we can go even deeper on the next exhale, making sure that front knee goes over the front toes. Then on the inhale, relaxing just slightly so we can take it to Purna for us, to perfection, to the fulfillment of this pose on this exhale. And then we're going to inhale to cross the arms and come to center. And then it's an exhale to step the left foot back in into mountain pose. Take a recovery inhale. And exhale in mountain pose. Then on the next inhale, you're going to turn your feet to the right and bring yourself back to the center of the mat. And after all of that good work, it's time to shed our old skin. So bring yourself down into corpse pose or Shavasana for our rebirth process. And we begin this process with 10 gentle and light breaths in the belly. So, away we go. Two more breaths. Last one. Before taking a Ujjayi breath in. Holding at the top for a couple of seconds. Before releasing with an R breath. And now I want you to relinquish the control of your body, breath, and thinking as you're in stillness. And we're going to do our 61-point body rotation. I'm going to say the body part and you're going to feel it. So bring your attention and your awareness and your feeling sense to the point between your eyebrows, to the pit of your throat, to your right shoulder, right elbow, right wrist, tip of right thumb, tip of your index finger, tip of the middle finger, tip of the ring finger, tip of the little finger, right wrist, right elbow, right shoulder, pit of throat, left shoulder, left elbow, left wrist, tip of the left thumb, tip of the left index finger, tip of the left middle finger, tip of the left ring finger, tip of the little finger, left wrist, left elbow, left shoulder, pit of throat, sternum, right chest, sternum, left chest, sternum travelling down, navel, pubic bone, right hip, right knee, right ankle, tip of right big toe, tip of right second toe, tip of the third toe, fourth toe, tip of the right little toe, right ankle, right knee, right hip, pubic bone, left hip, left knee, left ankle, tip of left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, tip of the little toe, left ankle, left knee, left hip, pubic bone, navel, sternum, pit of throat, and the point between the eyebrows. Now, yogi, feel the whole body. Whole body. Whole body. Body rotation complete. You can stay here and absorb more of the nutrients from your practice should you wish, or you can get on with your day.